Historic Columbia flood. Waters fill people's homes and cars, carrying away irreplaceable items. The numbers, the damage, the recovery to come. Amazing rescues. Stories of life and death as a woman climbs on the roof to escape the floods. Her amazing story coming up. Lending a hand. A local football team sets out to assist their community, the people they helped, and the reactions to the generosity. All this and more coming up on this Carolina News special report on the SC floods.
Live from the capital city, Carolina News brings you your news first. With breaking news and in-depth reporting. Up-to-the-minute weather. And all your sports news and highlights. It's all here, now, on Carolina News.
Welcome to Carolina News. I'm Abby O'Brien.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Shantae Sumter. Today, we bring you a special report on the historic flooding that has devastated South Carolina this week.
South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham says the cost of the flooding could top $1 billion.
There are sunny skies today, but South Carolina is trying to recover from what authorities are calling a 1,000-year flood. Raging flood waters washed away bridges, roads, and homes, forcing many to evacuate. Shelby Heery reports on the supercharged storm system that unleashed a deadly flood on our state.
Inch after inch fell on the coast of South Carolina beginning Thursday, and as the weekend continued, the devastation was felt statewide. In all, 18 dams would be breached, 9 in the Midlands alone. Emergency crews worked as quickly as they could to evacuate and save those who were trapped. In the aftermath, cars, family belongings, and debris were scattered. 17 lives have been lost, including USC alum Alex Holmes and SC-DOT highway worker Timothy Gibson. The road to recovery will be a long and trying one, but strides have already been made to bring supplies to those in need. Shelby Heery, Carolina News.
We've seen many South Carolinians helping each other in this time of crisis. Right on Lake Catherine, we have a story of one man going above and beyond to help his neighbors in the midst of the storm with some amazing footage. Tanner Abel reports.
Our lakefront home is now really lakefront.
Many people, when facing a flood like this, think, how can I get myself and my family to safety? Not Elliot Powell. Up against a Lake Catherine that was about 12 feet above its normal level, Powell used his boat and canoe to rescue neighbors that were stranded, including Donna Barrett Oliphant, who posted this incredible video on her Facebook page of Powell arriving to save her family. Powell was one of several boaters around Lake Catherine to help rescue neighbors and friends. But if you're asking him to take any credit for saving lives, it's not going to happen.
I'm certainly not suggesting that we're heroes. Would never want someone to put that label on me because it's not justified. But there's an awful lot of people who did not put their own safety before the well-being of their neighbors here. It's just heartwarming to see.
About 90 families live along Lake Catherine, and the majority of them had to be evacuated. Powell himself was responsible for taking care of 5 of the families and getting them to safety. Since he lives on a hill, only the basement and outside of Powell's house was damaged. If you look at some of his neighbors' houses, it's a completely different story. In the middle of the neighborhood, residents have set up an area for people to get free food and water. Many local businesses have donated things like pizza and water to help the cause. The neighborhood's unity has helped in making a horrible situation a little more positive.
It's just been heartwarming to see South Carolinians really doing everything they possibly can to help their neighbors. We live in an amazing state. Our people are like no one else in the world. In my opinion, we just God-fearing, good people that just want to help any way they can.
Tanner Abel, Carolina News.
Elliot, thank God for you.
Powell is a member of the Gills Creek Water Association, and while the organization plays a part in planning ways for South Carolina to manage flooding, Powell said they were not prepared for a flood of this magnitude.
The flood has affected almost everyone in our community in some way, even those who were not physically here when it happened. Bruce Ginnard is one of those individuals. He was out of town when the water rose, but his wife Claudia was at their home right beside Lake Catherine. He shared her story with Tori Beth Black.
Then my wife called and she said it was flooding pretty severely. She said it was like a river with rapids going beside our bedroom window. She went upstairs. She did take some things with her. She took some pictures. The water was still about 5 feet. I think it crested at about 9 feet where we are at this moment. In my house was about 6 feet of water. About an hour and a half or 2 hours later, she was plucked off the roof by a pontoon boat. I don't know how many more people they got after that, but we sure were grateful for them. And she calls them her two angels on a pontoon boat.
Angels that she says were watching over her.
When I was driving home from Virginia, that I prayed with her. She did snap at me a little bit yesterday morning, but that's okay. I deserved it.
Now they are just searching, finding things completely out of place.
Pretty much everything downstairs is ruined. There's a VW in the backyard, and there is a truck in the lake. Just see the top of it, the lake's starting to recede.
These cars were originally parked in the front of the house.
My insurance company made me buy flood insurance, which kind of upset me, but I'm pretty grateful for it right now.
He's not only grateful for his insurance, but his wife's life.
You know, I'm just really blessed for a lot of reasons. I'm grateful, but I'm also sad. I'm upset, and frankly, I feel guilty. It's just material things. You know, somebody died a mile from here.
For Bruce Ginyard, perspective is everything.
I will always be grateful for what I do have and try not to dwell on what I don't have.
Tori Beth Black, Carolina News.
Bruce and Claudia Ginyard, like so many others, continue the recovery process.
Like many people in the Midlands, those living at Willow Creek Apartments in the St. Andrews area now have to find a new home. After floodwaters rolled through the complex, I had the opportunity to go to the apartments where many are trying to salvage what the floodwaters left behind. As residents pack up, the sun shines on Willow Creek Apartments, a scene that many haven't seen for days. Brittany Robinson sorts through her belongings, seeing what she can salvage after floodwaters rolled through her apartment.
My first thought was, hey, they downstairs. But they were still asleep, and they were actually in that room, though.
She was upstairs, sleeping with her baby when she noticed her home was flooding. She then rushed downstairs because her 5-year-old son and sister were sleeping on these now overturned couches.
At that point, when I got them, it was here. So I held him, and we just took off that way. The front room wasn't that high yet. It was coming through the creases.
All because the creek behind them had overflowed. Water came through with so much force it destroyed everything on the first floor.
Trying to get out.
They took refuge in this room on the second
but
floor.
Once it got really high, at that point I kept calling like, hold on, if it goes past this window, we got to get out of here. So I just put the 4-month-old in a book bag, and I just told them, you know, we pretty much, if we have to get out the window, that's what we have to do.
Luckily, she didn't have to do that, as rescue boats went door to door, saving people.
They had to split us up. They just told us that we can't live here anymore.
Although she has to find a new place to stay, she's just happy they are together. Ooh. Willow Creek Apartment is home to about 600 residents. Now that's 600 people who now have to find somewhere to go. When floodwaters came rushing in, at one point the waters were over 5 feet. The boxes outside of Shakia Davis's apartment tell a similar story.
Opened up my front door. All the neighbors that stayed beneath me, they were sitting on my steps and asking for help.
Since she lived on the second floor, she only lost her car, but says her neighbors weren't so lucky.
Her degree coming out of the apartment. I saw her DVDs. I saw her toothbrush. I saw a pan of brownies that she had baked.
She says from her window, the parking lot was a scene of bumper cars. Now, as residents leave their apartments, broken memories are left behind as they wonder what the future holds. The apartment complex has agreed to give the residents back their October rent.
A journey like no other. A Ridgeville man puts his life in danger to pull a casket from the floodwaters. After the break, we'll tell you why he felt it was worth the risk.
Never look a howler monkey in the eye. Fried ants are delicious. We finished a clinic in a rainstorm.
Really?
That was a confidence builder. My students actually ended up teaching me.
Yeah. In La Keg, à la King.
Think managing a sales team is tough. Try working with 5 different villages. My alarm clock was a rooster. After 2 months, I was ready to quit, but after 2 years, I didn't want to leave. I didn't know I had it in me.
Turn 2 years of service into a lifetime of experience.
In Ridgeville, South Carolina, a pastor defied a county sheriff as he ventured into the floodwaters next to a cemetery. Pastor Wayne Reeves watched for hours as a casket began floating away from the cemetery near the Cannon Methodist Church. The floodwater was slowly taking the casket downstream. Reeves was tired of waiting for someone else to do something, so he put on boots and went out into waist-deep waters himself. He said it was the human thing to do.
Somebody's family out there. We got to show respect. This is respect. We got to respect the dead. I mean, but that's family suffering. Here's their family out there popped up out of the ground. I think it's the human thing to do.
Reeves was able to get the casket back to dry ground as members of the church tried to reach the funeral home.
Businesses around the state are now cleaning up after the catastrophic flooding. I was able to talk to businesses that are trying to find ways to move on after the devastation. It's a time of recovery for thousands in South Carolina. Many families and businesses have lost everything. But when you have nothing, the smallest bit of help is a light in the dark. No one knows this better than Kay Stafford, owner of Webb Rawls Gallery off Trenham Road.
People showed up and helped, and it was just overwhelming because the store was flooded 7 feet.
Her store filled with water when the creek behind it overflowed into the parking lot.
We couldn't get in for 3 days and the roads were closed, and it's been really bad down here.
But Stafford's light in the dark was the volunteer group from First Presbyterian Church who came to help.
These young people came in and they helped out so much, and I just can't say what we would have done without them.
Robert Perkinson was one of those volunteers.
Well, I've never seen something like this before, never seen any natural kind of disaster like this.
And he knows that any big job has to start small.
It starts with teamwork, everyone helping each other out, getting things cleared out. It's our duty as humans, to help each other out, treat each other as brothers and sisters.
Next door to Webb Rawls Gallery is another business that was devastated. These shelves here at Battery Street Books are bare now, but they once held thousands of rare and irreplaceable pieces of South Carolina history. History that is now caked in mud and lies in piles outside the store. Many of the books came from the Civil War and World War II eras. Workers from the store didn't want to talk on camera, but said the books were valued at about $300,000. And while the water in Columbia is receding, the damage done is becoming more apparent. Both stores have lost so much, but are thankful for the help they've received.
We help each other here in South Carolina, and it's a good state to be in.
And while they are thankful, they are unsure of where to go from here. The building's owners say they were not eligible for flood insurance because they are located in a floodway, not a flood zone.
9 dams have failed in the Midlands as a result of the historic rainfall. The Old Mill Dam in Lexington was the first to give way early Sunday morning, flooding businesses and homes. In all, 18 dams failed across the state. More than 2 feet of rain fell in some places in the Palmetto State, causing the dams to fail. The breached dams were a major cause of much of the flooding in our region. The Department of Health and Environmental Control is now checking other dams for damage across the state.
With so much water, you wouldn't think drinking water would be a problem, but the flood knocked out a canal that holds Columbia's main source of drinking water. Emergency crews set up pumps to force water into the city's water treatment plant, and a boil water advisory went out to the system's 375,000 customers. Our reporter, Tori Beth Black, was there as National Guard crews tried to repair the breached canal.
The problem for Columbia's water customers lies here, with the Columbia Canal. The canal was breached when water levels in the Congaree River rose during the flooding, leaving a gaping hole. National Guard members flying Chinook helicopters have been dropping sandbags and heavy equipment into the water to create a temporary dam. Mayor Steve Benjamin assures the city that it will not run out of water, even though there are other problems that need fixing.
It's not a question of if, it's a question of when and how.
One of those problems, clean water. The boil water advisory issued for the city of Columbia and surrounding areas early Sunday is still in effect, but the city has provided a temporary solution to that problem: water distribution centers.
I think it's a great relief that they can at least come here and get a couple cases of water until the water boil and everything is fixed and back to normal.
Darla Edgar is organizing this disaster relief effort at AC Flora High School. Volunteers like Harry McFadden have been out here all day, every day, since the disaster struck.
It's heartbreaking because I think that it could be me, and I would hope that somebody will also want to go out and volunteer and give their time.
And Darla says the center wouldn't run without these volunteers.
The overwhelming help from all of the college students, the high school students, it's unbelievable, and it shows that South Carolina hospitality is what it is.
And it just keeps coming.
Plus people are coming from far and near bringing water. Like we just had a lady come not too long ago, she's from Tennessee, and she brought water.
Darla, who is from Pennsylvania and helped out in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, says she's never seen a community come together like this, and it leaves her
speechless. The hearts here, you just can't even, it gives me tears.
The city doesn't know when the water will be safe to drink, but until then, the community keeps on giving.
Tori Beth Black, Carolina News. Columbia Mayor Steve Benjamin said at one point earlier in the week that some 130,000 people in Columbia were without water.
The flood has made travel difficult across the state as floodwaters wiped out numerous roads and bridges. With safety in mind, the South Carolina Department of Transportation announced on Wednesday that a total of 414 roads and bridges were closed. Here in the Midlands, Interstates 20, 26, and 77 have reopened, but to our east, part of Interstate 95 is still closed. Police have set up barricades to warn drivers of closed roads, but not everyone has been taking that message seriously.
People are steadily going around these cones and trying to drive through there, and this is where the rescues are having to come in at.
While transportation crews work to rebuild roads that have been wiped out, law enforcement officials are hoping people will avoid driving on flooded roads.
Weather specialist Shelby Heery is in the Carolina News Weather Center, where she has come up with some amazing numbers that put this flood into perspective.
11 trillion gallons of rain have hit the Carolinas over the past week, and there may be more to come. I'll let you know coming up next.
One of my biggest passions in life is animals. That's why I've worked with Morris Animal Foundation for over 40 years. Morris Animal Foundation is a world leader in helping animals live longer, healthier lives. You can too. Just show your support at morrisanimalfoundation.org.
To help cats, dogs, horses, and wildlife live healthier lives, visit morrisanimalfoundation.org, where we are advancing science that will create a healthier tomorrow for animals.
I wanted to be in the military since I was a kid.
I served a total of 16 years.
And at 19 years old, that's the first time I ever saw somebody die.
Coming back, I was raging.
I started having pretty horrible nightmares.
I started drinking a lot.
I guess I never recognized it in myself.
It all starts with going to the VA. There's a whole community of veterans that just want to help you out.
It's for the guys who couldn't come back, so you owe it to them to live well.
because they're not here with their families.
This rain has broken records, but just how much rain has fallen?
USA Today released this graphic to put into perspective just how much water came down on the Carolinas. The 11 trillion gallons of rainwater that fell in the Carolinas this past week would be enough water to fill 636 million swimming pools. It could also fill over 130,000 Rose Bowls to the top of the stadium. And Californians would have enjoyed the rain, as it could have ended the severe drought in that state.
We have sunshine now, but the sun was missing for days earlier in the week.
Our weather specialist Shelby Heery is in the Weather Center to answer all our questions about the flood and the possibility of rain this weekend. Shelby?
Yes, Abby, we have seen some historic rainfall for the Carolinas. And if we take a look here, there was over a foot of rain throughout the coast and some more here in Columbia as well. We saw a foot to about a foot and a half. Now that rain caused a lot of flooding in our area, and it's not the only rain headed our way. If we take a look at this Saturday, there's a low pressure system sitting over our area. This will pull in a lot of moisture, bringing some rain and thunderstorms. There may only be about 1 to 2 inches of rain, but that can do some damage in areas that have already been heavily hit. So if you are in one of the flood watch zones, make sure to be careful this weekend. The rain is not here to stay though, as that low pressure system will move off the coast. If we take a look at the 5-day, that rain will hit us on Saturday with a 90% chance and a little bit on Sunday as well, but throughout the rest of the week, we'll see some sunnier skies. Temperatures will move up to the mid to upper 70s, and that sunny skies should bring some smiling faces around campus.
Thanks, Shelby. Well, as that rain hit downtown Columbia, home to the University of South Carolina, students were deeply impacted.
The university has been closed all week, with students going days without water. Thomas Gruhl has more on what those students have been doing on and off campus.
Students have played games to try to keep themselves entertained this week, as classes at the University of South Carolina have been canceled. But during a week in which portable toilets have been dispersed around campus due to a lack of water, many realize it is not a normal holiday.
It was more of a sad event that we had to be concerned about other people and try to help.
As Sarah Sajari played cornhole with fellow grad student Adi Tabrizi, they both relayed the same message. Tabrizi, a civil engineering grad student, was able to help authorities with the dams across Columbia.
They were out of, I think, the experienced guys. I did my best to share my knowledge with them.
But this week, it's not all about fun and games for students here at South Carolina. Buses just like this one behind me will be lined up to take hundreds of students to different sites all around Columbia where the flooding has affected those the worst.
Third-year sociology and Russian major Corey Alpert and a group of his friends decided that they were going to start a volunteer group. After putting a link to sign up on Facebook, Alpert was taken aback by the response.
I was kind of expecting about 200 people that maybe I knew. All of a sudden, we're now over 3,000 volunteers. So the response went viral. Clearly, the USC community really cares about this and really wants to show that they care about their community.
And for Alpert, the response he has seen from his fellow peers has shown what the students at USC are all about.
It's this idea that students can actually make a difference and actually want to make a difference. And that's what we're seeing, and that's something that I think is really inspiring.
Alpert and his group of friends will continue to give inspiration to a city that has gone through tragedy. Thomas Gruhl, Carolina News.
Alpert says that they are continuing to take requests from anyone who could possibly need volunteers. Once someone submits a request, his group figures out the best way to get as many volunteers as possible to that site.
The Midlands come together after the flood. How the floodwater will affect Gamecock football, next.
Hey guys.
The strongest families are built one moment at a time. For more ways to make every day count, visit facebook.com/makeeverydaycount.
The floodwaters of this week have forced the Gamecocks to hit the road this weekend. Their game against LSU was originally scheduled to be played at home in Williams-Brice. University and city officials decided that after the floods, it was best to move the game to Baton Rouge. When asked if he was worried about losing home field advantage against the top 10 team, head coach Steve Spurrier says some things are more important than football.
The tragedy of the devastation of the flood oversees any of that kind of stuff. It's what's best for our community.
The game will now be played on ESPN at 3:30 instead of noon.
And LSU is doing all they can to help make Gamecocks feel welcome in Baton Rouge.
All the revenue from this game, all the ticket sales from this game, minus our expenses, will go to South Carolina. They are basically the home team for this game. The Red Cross will be here to accept monetary donations for the flood relief in South Carolina.
While LSU and other SEC teams are pitching in to help out the Midlands community, many of our local teams are working nonstop to do the same. Blake Lipton was out with the Ben Lippen High School football team earlier this week as they provided support.
On Shady Lane, muddy water and garbage serve as a reminder of the damage left by the SC flood. But with the damage came a flood of volunteers looking to help and a flood of emotions from homeowners.
Just seeing everybody come together is it's awesome.
After the floods damaged Lauren Gillespie's house, Coach Derek White and the Ben Lippen football team are putting the game aside to help her out.
You know, football's a bit, it's my job, but it's not the most important thing. We can do a lot more out here than we can do on a football field.
The team is suiting up in a different way today, getting their hands dirty by ripping out ruined insulation as a result of the floods.
It's very bad, and you know, it's just anything we can do to bring a smile to somebody's face is what we want to do.
For Ben Lippen's principal, Max Russell, it's about the team giving back to the community.
The community comes every week to come give them support, and they want to get out and show the community support.
But the team is doing more than putting a smile on Lauren's face. They're bringing a tear to her eye.
I mean, they didn't complain. I told them I'd give them water. I told them I'd give them whatever, and I just started bawling, crying, and I mean, they help so much.
As the saying goes, if you're hurt, rub some dirt on it.
You need to get out in front of that spigot.
And Ben Lippen football is taking that saying to a whole different level for the SC flood victims. On Shady Lane, Blake Lipton, Carolina News.
Head coach Derek Wright said the team will continue to help residents of Shady Lane throughout the week, and that anyone who is interested in helping out can come and join them.
Lots of other organizations are trying to help out the community as well. Even after the floods washed through downtown Columbia, the South Carolina State Fair will still open on October 14th. This year, the fair announced on its Facebook that it will donate all of the profits from its $5 parking fees back to the community for flood relief. Social media has been swamped with t-shirt designs honoring the flood victims. Organizations and individuals are using their creativity to raise money that will go directly to funding flood projects. And in this flood, heroes of all shapes and sizes come out. The Process Hair Salon on Forest Drive is full of those unexpected heroes. The salon has been offering a free shampoo and blow dry for those in need. Whether your water isn't working or you're just having a bad day, the salon says you can come in and they'll do what they can to help.
If you'd like to help with flood relief, you can donate money, time, or items. City of Hope Worship Center in West Columbia is accepting donations of water, non-perishable food, diapers, wipes, clothing, and personal hygiene items. You can also donate online to the Harvest Hope Food Bank or the Red Cross.
Thank you for joining us for this special report on the South Carolina floods. It's been a challenging week, but we hope to resume classes on Monday.
We'll see you tomorrow at 4 for Carolina News. We leave you now with the sights and sounds of the South Carolina floods.